Do a video on the Great Reset.
What are your thoughts about the Great Reset?
Talk about the Great Reset. What about the Great Reset? What's going to happen after the Great Reset?
Alright, fine, don't ask me again. I will talk about the Great Reset. By the way, it feels weird starting a video off without the normal introduction, so let's get that out of the way. What's up, son? It's Dad here. And yes, I will talk about the Great Reset today for everyone who's curious what this is, what this means for you, and what I think of it. Now, I have a feeling the reason this is brought up so much lately is because there's no shortage of articles and headlines out there talking about the end of our economy as we know it, the world is changing forever, e-commerce is dominating, work from home is picking up popularity, people are fleeing big cities, some jobs are unexpected to return, and in a way, this is in and of itself a great reset. We're seeing a huge shift in everything from where we live, how we do business, how we make our money, how we invest our money, how we spend our money, and a variety of other aspects of our day-to-day lives that have changed a lot in 2020. So it's no wonder why we're constantly seeing talks of this great reset that proposes a lot of changes to our entire economy. But the one question constantly being asked is, what exactly is the Great Reset? What's the likelihood of this happening, and what does this mean for you and me? That was actually 3 questions. I take that back. Well, not to worry, I will attempt to answer that question as soon as you reset that great like button by making it turn blue. It's that easy. You get access to at least a dozen hours that were spent creating this video, all for the low cost of that like button being gently but greatly reset. So thank you so much, and with that said, we'll begin here. Alright, now here's the thing. To be honest, I had absolutely no idea what this great reset was all about until I started looking into it further. And wow, I did not know what I was getting myself into when I started on this quest to figure out what this was all about. Prior to this, I just read so many comments mentioning that the Great Reset is coming that it turned itself more into a mythical buzzword than anything. And yeah, if you're as confused as I was about all of this, not to worry, because I did what I do best, which is spend hours of my time researching all of this directly from the source. And here's what I've gathered, and you're going to want to listen very closely to this because it took me a very long time to put all of this together. The Great Reset was proposed by the members of what's known as the World Economic Forum. They're a non-profit organization with the main purpose of connecting innovative thinkers and world leaders together in one place for the unified goal of making our world a better place that runs more efficiently. They talk about world problems, issues we're facing, and social unjust, and then they work on solutions to fix whatever needs to be done. Of course, you might be asking yourself, this sounds interesting. How much is it to join such an astute community like this? Well, you're either going to need to be very rich or have an infinite money printer because according to Wikipedia, the membership could be as much as $628,000 a year. Now, because this forum consists of some of the most wealthy and powerful individuals in the world, there's a lot of mystery as to exactly what they do and whether or not they're the good guys or the bad guys. I say this not to make you question their objectives, but given all the mystique surrounding them, it's no wonder why there's been so much discussion about the Great Reset with so many opinions on exactly what it is because honestly, they did a horrible job explaining it. Like, if you go to their YouTube channel, the Great Reset is nothing more than 92 seconds of B-roll showing disasters and political tension with the captions, "Our systems need a reset," and 33,000 dislikes. And to make matters worse, comments are also turned off, so you can't read about how confused everyone is. Now, their website doesn't provide much help either. There's a brief paragraph about how we need to manage the consequences of the illness and start on this so-called Great Reset. And then it links to a video that says, "Watch again, even though I'm in incognito mode and have never seen the video before in my entire life." But so be it, it's a 47-minute long video and I watched the whole thing, which I'll be honest, it was a very long 47 minutes. The video constantly cuts in and out. The audio is barely understandable about 20% of the time.
And if you look at the video, it's shocking in itself.
And it was 30 minutes before they even started talking about the term reset. This is not the only video covering the topic either. There's also another hour-long video on YouTube, and I'll be honest, this one was really difficult to sit through. They never really discussed what anything is actually about, it was incredibly confusing, and there was never really a cohesive message on exactly what's going to happen. Basically, they just talked for an hour about how we need to design an economy that's more resilient, that doesn't leave people behind, that saves our planet, that's sustainable, and doesn't leave such a large gap gap between the rich and the poor. They also say we gotta come up with a solution to our problems. There needs to be a social contract that we all have to abide by because of how interconnected we all are, and the digitalization to as much as possible leading us to reset the way we think and do business. The problem with all of this, though, is that it was really poorly presented to the point where if this were my homework assignment for an economics class, I would immediately just get kicked out of school. I'm sure very few people even watched more than a few minutes of the video, judging by all the dislikes, so it did not go over well. So let's simplify this even further, because from my perspective, this video is a waste of 47 minutes. And instead, I'll just tell you what this Great Reset is and what this means for our economy and how you invest your money. So for those of you just as confused as I was, and still kind of am because their entire message is very incohesive, here's the gist of it. The illness has fundamentally changed the way we go about our day-to-day lives. It shifted demand towards nearly everything becoming digitalized. It's totally wrecked the restaurant and hospitality industry, and the divide between the rich and the poor has grown even greater. Now, some of this you might be able to argue was going to happen anyway, like online shopping versus going into a mall, or working from home versus going into an office, or charging 20% more for food delivery becoming the new norm. But this illness just put everything into warp speed and caused everything to happen much faster than it would have otherwise. That caused a large portion of our population to be left behind and lose their job and then be unable to return back to work. And it also caused other people to grow their business to such an extreme level that would have never been possible if not for a stay-at-home order. So instead of a gradual shift that allows people to change and adapt and evolve over time, this change was just thrown on us, and that's bound to create some challenges along the way. Well, this Great Reset is a term that calls for change to current regulations and policies that puts people first, businesses second. And a few of their priorities include placing a bigger emphasis on education, reallocating a percentage of government funding into sustainable green energies, and placing restrictions on companies that take bailouts from the government. Their thought is that if we're going to be creating $1 trillion stimulus, we may as well use this as an opportunity to address all of our problems and issues. And it's better to find a solution now than wait for the problems to get worse. Besides that, there's also another interpretation that the Great Reset is about spreading wealth, taking away private ownership of property, and then equally distributing that to everybody. And I gotta say, from everything that I have read and watched, nothing they say directly supports that. Instead, the closest thing I could find was an article by Klaus Schwab, the chairman of the World Economic Forum, talking about imposing restrictions on companies that take tax-funded bailouts, wanting to impose wealth taxes, and build more green infrastructure. But most of that was really just a suggestion without a big push behind it. Now, if you've heard this entire explanation and you still don't understand what the Great Reset is, don't worry, you're not alone. And here's what I think about the whole thing and how likely any of this is to actually happen. First, it's no surprise that yes, our economy has changed a lot this year. There is definitely a push towards digitalization, cashless payments are soaring, online banks are doing incredibly well, and remote working is becoming a lot more common. I don't doubt that our economy will absolutely be changed for the foreseeable future, if not permanently. But one could argue that many of these changes were going to be happening anyway, and this whole event just became the catalyst for them to happen immediately. As some examples, I believe working from home is going to become a lot more normal. I think living in a big city is not going to be as necessary as it once was. I think digital cashless payments are going to become a lot more prevalent. I think we'll be seeing a lot of malls being repurposed into other uses. I don't think these are all things that are going to go away entirely, but I do think there's going to be a noticeable shift that will stay with us. And we were already moving in that direction before all of this happened. It's just that now we were forced to make those changes earlier than expected. A Great Reset that shifts government and public resources towards sustainable energy, infrastructure, and education isn't necessarily a bad thing. But the way all of this was presented sounds more like an incohesive wish list than an actual plan to make anything happen. Unfortunately, even after I spent hours going through all of this, I was still left with the question, what's going on? And I still don't get it. But either way, the marketing on this was so terribly implemented that it makes me incredibly doubtful that any of this is actually going to happen. Now, I think the intentions of all of this at its core are still good. I mean, yeah, companies should be accountable if they receive bailouts. We should reinvest into sustainable infrastructure. And if we're going to spend money anyway, we may as well do it in such a way that's a good long-term investment for everybody. But besides saying that we should all work together to provide solutions to problems, the whole thing just went nowhere. there, and instead, the Great Reset turned into more like the Great Confusion that's unlikely to go anywhere. From my perspective, it's basically just a giant wish list of things they hope the government might implement one day, and really that's it. And really, at the end of the day, I'm going to take the stance that we should not expect or wait for government change, and instead, focus on the things we could directly control right now. Because who knows what's going to happen, how long something is to take, or what we're expected to get. So instead of focusing any more time on the Great Reset, here's my great solution that we could begin implementing right now. First, learn to take initiative. If there's something you want, you have the power to begin working towards that immediately. By watching this video, you already have access to the internet, and pretty much everything you need to know is at your fingertips between YouTube and Google for entirely free. Education does not need to be expensive, and it doesn't need to be formal. And I wouldn't be surprised if education becomes more about self-learning in the future. Second, we gotta place a stronger emphasis on financial education. I'm really happy it's finally becoming cool to save your money, live below our means, and to invest long term. But now it's become more like an open discussion where people could talk about their struggles, what they've learned, what works, and encourage each other to have an emergency fund, invest, and think long term. Third, we should each learn at some point to work for ourselves. Ultimately, relying on somebody else for a paycheck is not always going to be sustainable. So learning how to take matters into your own hands when necessary is going to be a useful skill that everyone can benefit from. This might be a side hustle or a business you could start at night, or anything you could do on your own to make money. Now fourth, be compassionate and kind to others. I know this one is not financial related at all, but it's just common courtesy. You have no idea what people are going through behind the scenes or the struggles they face day to day. So just be nice to everybody, even if someone is mean or rude to you, or even if you disagree with what they have to say. Show them kindness anyway, and do your part to be a good person by smashing the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Fifth, it's so important to learn from your past experiences. You would be shocked at how many people don't learn from their past mistakes, they place the blames on others, and then when they keep making the same mistake, they just say it's not their own fault. Sometimes you just need to be critical of yourself and what you're doing if you're expected to learn from that and grow. And really, as unpleasant as that could be sometimes, it's really going to be for the better. And finally, number 6, it's so important that you get your 4 free stocks by using the link down below in the description, because Webull is going to be giving you 4 free stocks when you deposit $100 on the platform, with those stocks potentially worth all the way up to $1,600. So if you like free money, you may as well use that link down below in the description and let me know which 4 free stocks you get. So all in all, the Great Reset is, in my opinion, not much worth discussing. It's a series of ideas and philosophies that overall sound kind of good on the surface. But the entire thing is just so poorly executed, it's incredibly confusing to figure out exactly what it is, and I would not expect really much to come from it. Instead, I would say the best thing we could do is to take matters into our own hands, to work to better ourselves, be kind to the environment, be kind to others, and be introspective and honest with ourselves about what's working and what's not. By doing that, I expect that we'll go a lot farther, a lot faster than waiting for government policies and regulations to change to make our day-to-day lives better. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Also, feel free to add me on Instagram. I post there pretty much daily, so if you want to be a part of it there, feel free to add me there as my second channel, The Graham Stephan Show. I post there every single day. I'm not posting here. So if you want to see a brand new video from me every single day, make sure to add yourself to that. And lastly, if you guys want those 4 free stocks, use the link down below in the description, and Webull is going to be giving you 4 free stocks when you deposit $100 on the platform, with those stocks potentially worth all the way up to $1,600. So that's basically free money. If you like free money, use that link down below in the description. Let me know which stocks you get. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.